UIC. Freedom the people of need. Hell yeah. Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people of want. Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people of want. Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people of want. Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road, me say yeah. Real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road. Ready for broke every chain. That when you free up the people, levitate. Jamaica member, you ever great. I feel burn up the fire upon every snake. Me give thanks in every way. God still a look down once see we safe. UIC run the road long time. GLP and PMP I sell we out. Still I do the test even though we know the end result. If them coulda kill with them catch we and hang we know. No force no coercion, me freedom in a step. No one fi rob we and kill we and feel them I go make it out. You know see the leeches, you know see the hands of the devil when him sleep with. You know see the leeches, you know see the hands of the devil when him sleep with. Yeah, real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road, me say yeah. Real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow.
Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of UIC Liberty TV. This is Joseph Patterson, President of the UIC speaking. Just want to say a good evening to all of you and welcome. I see Jamaican Carlos and no persons logging on. Good evening to all of you and welcome to this very interesting discussion we're going to have tonight about how the Prime Minister has been feverishly copying from the UIC's 10-point plan and trying to make sure that the Jamaican people hear it from him first. As you know, the UIC is not allowed to be on our regular media channels, and so people are not hearing from us as much as they need to hear from us. You would think that Jamaica only has 2 registered political parties and not 3. Obviously, there's an attempt to keep the UIC away from the attention of the Jamaican people. But we're not going to give up or give in. We're here and we're going to continue to press and use the channels that we have here on YouTube and on Twitter and Instagram and anywhere else that we can get the message out. We'll continue. Even on WhatsApp, we're busy trying to connect with people inside, outside Jamaica, the diaspora, everywhere. So I want to thank all of you who are here with us tonight, all of you who have done everything you possibly can to spread the word about the UIC and to make sure Jamaicans know that there is an alternative. Now they have a real. It's no longer just 2, it's not even 2 choices, because whether you vote for JLP or PNP, you're really voting for the PSOJ and the colonial masters who control them. So really, Jamaicans only have 2 choices. You vote for what has obtained for the last 78 years, or you vote for the UIC. Now, people can't vote for what they don't know about. And so many Jamaicans still do not know about the UIC. And that's where you and I come in. We have to make sure we're working hard to get the message out. So good to see you on, all of you who are here with us. I have a special guest that will be joining me in our discussion tonight. And I'll introduce him to you shortly. There are a number of persons who I wanted to get on. I wanted our vice president to be on tonight, one of our 3 vice presidents, because she has been tracking this story very closely and monitoring it very closely to make sure that Jamaicans know what is going on. But she's not here yet. I'm not sure she's going to make it. But let me just open up now and welcome Craig McKenzie. Hello, Mr. McKenzie. How are you?
Hello, sir. Good evening, fellow Uniters. I am wonderful. How are you?
Wonderful. Good, good, good. Well, thank you for joining me tonight, and I'm looking forward to having this discussion with you. And we're going to take questions from our friends who are watching from all over the world. We have, members of the diaspora, and we have Jamaicans from all 14 parishes here with us tonight. The topic is the fact that the Prime Minister has been caught stealing the UIC ideas. And he has been doing that for some time now. Many of you might notice that he no longer wears the usual green suits that are associated with his party, but that he has been trying to get Jamaicans to become acclimatized to seeing him wearing the UIC blue. They're really doing quite a job. I mean, I told my wife today, we were having a chat, and I said to her, um, the prime minister is very good at politics. He's not very good at anything else, like managing the economy or fixing crime or anything like that. He's good at politics. He's good at the game of politics, the unfortunate game that these people play with the life, the citizens of this country. And so he's very good at playing that game. And one of the things that he has been doing is copying from the UIC's 10-point plan. Now, this plan has been out for some time, at least for the last 2 years. And so, step by step, the Prime Minister has been taking them one at a time. Now, Craig, because we're not supported, we're not very recognized by the media. So the regular media houses, the TVJs, the CVMs, the Gleaner, the Observer, the various radio stations, they do not see fit to do what is normal. When you have a normal, free country where you have journalists who are interested in bringing the news, bringing information, bringing what is topical to the people, ensuring that the citizens know what's going on and what's happening out there. In a normal free society, when you have 3 registered political party, the citizens would hear every time there's a major news item, every time there's a major announcement by the government, anytime there is a significant happening in the society, any reasonable journalist would whip out their microphone and their camera, and they would first of all go to hear what is the government's position on this matter. And you'll hear the government's position. Then they would go to the next political party. In this case, let's go to the PNP and say, what does the PNP have to say about this matter? The Prime Minister is now talking about mandating young people to go into a program after secondary school if they're not going into university or college. That might sound familiar to you because the UIC has been advocating that program now for some time. It's called, yes, Youth Employment Solution. Prior to that, we had the Youth Enterprise Society, which is a charity that I created back in 2016. And then subsequently, in our manifesto and our 10-point plan, we advocated for the Youth Employment Solution, which is designed to ensure that every young person leaving high school who is not going into a post-secondary program, such as university or a trades program, they would be apprenticed in industry or the public sector, police, army, hospital, roadworks, whatever it is. They would be apprenticed in that program where they'll get an income and they would learn key skills and develop work ethics and so on. We have been advocating for this for some time. You have never heard on CVM, TVJ, Gleaner, Observer, or on any radio station generally, where they said, oh, the UIC president is advocating for a national youth employment solution that would solve this problem for us, get our young people away from the gangs, that would get them fully into an apprenticeship program, learning and earning at the same time. Big news on all these outlets. You have never heard that. But now the prime minister reshape it and come with a a JLP package version of the same thing. Of course, you quickly hear it on the news, and they will go and ask the PNP, "What is your position on this?" They still won't say. The journalist won't say, "Oh, but Mr. Prime Minister, isn't that the program that the UIC have been advocating for some time now? Are you saying it's a good program, Mr. Prime Minister, and it's good for Jamaica, and we should be doing this? Are you saying, are you going to give credit to the UIC for this program? How did you come up with this program?" Nothing like that will be heard in the media. What are your thoughts on that, Mr. Mackenzie?
Well, it seems like the the current government really don't have the Jamaican people's interests at heart. It's just all about protecting. It's just about corruption and protecting the status quo for the last 78 years. Um, I believe personally that um, if we as Jamaicans keep going down this same path and we expect a different result, um, this is not a wise move. Put it this way: there's nothing any one of us have to lose in giving the UIC a try, especially those who haven't voted at all, um, which you really have voted when you don't vote. So you vote
Absolutely.
for, yeah. So I firmly believe, based on what I have come to know about the UIC and its policies, its manifesto, and what their core competencies are really about. I believe that it's high time for a change. Change is always difficult. I myself, I don't really like change, but after hearing and comprehending what the UIC is about, I firmly believe that it's now time for us to chart a different path.
Yeah, thank you, Craig. I mean, but by the way, I should have done a proper introduction of you. I didn't tell the people that you're actually a, what do you call it now? A foundation member, a founding member of the UIC.
Yeah.
You were the UIC's very first treasurer.
Mm.
I think back in 20, what was it?
11, is it?
13, 14.
Or
13,
13?
I
Yeah.
think 13, 14,
13?
13,
Yeah.
14, somewhere there,
Yeah.
13.
Yeah.
You were the very first treasurer of the UIC.
Mhm.
And I remember Janice Collins was the very
Yes.
first general secretary.
Hmm.
And I still remember the days when we sat around and talked about policies and programs and debated different angles and different sides. And um, you know, those were such innocent days, in the
Yeah.
beginning before we realized the torture that
Mm.
would have been involved in trying to set this up. But moving right along, the prime minister is also talking about housing. Now, the UIC's policy that we have advocated, first of all, the prime minister is now, and his party, and the what do you call him now, the Minister of Finance, they're now talking a lot about Singapore. I don't know if you notice. They're mentioning Singapore in every other sentence now. You all know that the UIC has long held Singapore as the minimum standard that
Mhm.
that Jamaica should achieve. We have long brought to the attention of those Jamaicans who got a chance to hear us that Jamaica and Singapore started out on very similar footings in terms of GDP per capita, and how in a short time they accelerated and became a first class country in a very short time by doing the very things that the UIC is now advocating. Some of the key things that they advocated was to focus on creating a safe environment, because without a safe environment, you cannot have investment to kind of create the economy that we need. Having a clean environment, because having a clean and green environment brings out the best in people by nature. It's just something God ordained. The more we have a clean environment, and we have an environment that is well maintained, that is pretty, and made so by by nature, with plants and trees and grass and just well maintained, it bring out the best in people. So we have long advocated a safe environment, a clean environment, and public order as foundational elements for a strong and productive society. We also advocate getting rid of corruption by changing the system. Now, Singapore's systems are different from ours. They've done a different approach to getting rid of corruption, which, by the way, is also the UIC approach, a top-down approach when it comes down to corruption and crime. They applied that. But also, the UIC went a step further. We built a system which will be independent of any one man. So Singapore was largely around the messianic figure of Lee Kuan Yew, who was just a great leader in his own right, a very effective politician, a very effective administrator of national development. But the UIC wanted to go further. We wanted to create a Jamaica that is independent of whoever we elect as leader, because the system is so designed to have proper checks and balances. So we invented the non-partisan constitutional republic model, which is going to be the gold standard for the rest of the world in terms of quality of governance. So we're ahead of the game on that. But Singapore, back in the 1960s, they embarked on pretty much the same basic ideas as the UIC: safe, clean, orderly. Having, uh, uh, you know, I heard the Prime Minister on it again recently talking now about human capital. These are all phrases they have borrowed from the UIC. Our policy is about building the human capital of our people. They have borrowed that. We talked about creating a Singapore type housing solution where they have been able to get to 92% home ownership in their country. The UIC's model will bring us to 98% home ownership. They're now talking about a minimum level of housing that they say everybody is entitled to. The UIC has a different approach, but they're just borrowing the ideas. Our approach is not a matter of that, just a minimum level. We want you to live in a quality home, a high quality home that we think we can get for every single citizen based on the fact that the lands belong to the people of Jamaica. These lands are not us to buy from the government, they're our lands. And so we want to divest all of the crown lands, and we want to make sure the Jamaican people become shareholders in those lands. And by virtue of that conversion, we build high rise buildings, beautiful Singapore style high rise buildings to house the vast majority of Jamaicans. Get rid of the what do you call them, those squatter communities, get rid of the garrisons, and convert those into high-rise buildings. And why we're going for high-rise, where again we're borrowing from Singapore here, the brilliance of Singapore. Land is a premium, so you don't play with land in Singapore. Now we are much bigger than Singapore. We're 15 times the size of Singapore, but we must be smart. So the UIC says, let us keep much of the land that we have now that is good for agriculture. Let's make sure that they are being used for agriculture, but not just any agriculture. Let's make sure that it's organic agriculture, where we become the organic of the successes of the Netherlands, because they have done a great in there quite a few times. They have done an excellent job in terms.
Not sure what happened there. I'm not able to hear you. I'm not sure what happened there, everyone. User is for some strange reason he has cut off the screen. But he was talking about the UIC. Okay, looks like he's
Idea. He's now spinning the idea of uh, you know a housing solution now for everyone who is at a lower level and so on. So once again, borrowing another UIC idea, but not giving credit to us, and not and really demonstrating that they really don't don't have a plan for Jamaica. They're just winging it. The Prime Minister of Jamaica is winging. He's just winging it. He's not really a person with a vision for Jamaica. He's not a person with a plan. He doesn't have any competences. And maybe, Craig, maybe the reason is he went into politics too early. He went practically from university straight into politics. He has been there for 25 years now. So when people like you and me are working hard, I mean, you in the transportation industry, and me in, accounting, finance, engineering industry, we have worked hard. We have learned how to live without privileges. We didn't have any special privilege because we're politicians or connected. So we have had to solve day-to-day problems, on the ground with employees, building teams, organizing to solve productivity problems. But we have a prime minister who has not really done that. And so he's incapable of managing. And that's why he makes these outlandish promises, but are unable to keep them. He promised us we would be able to sleep with our windows and doors open at night. We can't, because he has failed. He has failed just as miserably as Peter Bunting before him, that he criticized, and all the other security ministers before him, who have failed us over the 78 years. He's failing just like them, because for him it's just politics. They have no competencies to solve the problem, or they can't solve the problem for crime, for example, because they're a part of it. There's no way, Craig, no way that you can have two parties with 126, right? 126 MP candidates across the 14 parishes, 456 councillor candidates across the parishes, in every nook and cranny, working with all kind of people to get elected over 78 years, and they don't know where all the criminals are, how to get all the guns, and how to solve it. How can you have 78 years worth of experience and have this amount of human capital available to you, working in all of these communities, every division, and you cannot solve the crime problem in Jamaica? It tells me that there's one of two things. Either the Jamaica Labour Party and the People's National Party and their leaders and candidates, either they are incompetent or they're complicit. So either they're incompetent with so much years experience, and if you look at the JLP bench, for example, only for old people up on it. They've been in politics from you and I were kids. So they have 78 years of experience, the two parties, minimum. The PNP is a little older. They're like 80 something. But overall, in terms of being elected, one or the other elected, for 78 years, they've been in power. They've been controlling this country. They run our education system. They run our healthcare system. They run our economy. They do everything. They are in control of everything in this country. And you want to tell me that being in control of this country for 78 years, they cannot solve the crime problem? They cannot make Jamaica as me. I have not been in control, and I can assure you, elect me tomorrow as prime minister, and you immediately start to see this crime problem under control. So what is wrong? Either they are complicit or they're incompetent. What are your thoughts?
I think they are both, actually. It's very disappointing that the Jamaican people have to live through this kind of tyranny for so long. I remember a Sky Juice cart man pushing his cart, and there was a picture of the then former Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller, and I went to purchase, a Sky Juice from him, and when I saw what does this picture mean or represent to you? And the person said, it's a it's a it's a family thing in his family. So all he in born come say him his mom and dad voting for PNP. So him is a born PNP. So I said to him, what has the PNP done not only for you, but for the country at large? And he couldn't answer. He couldn't answer that question. So this is this is what the government has cultivated over these 78 years is people who just do what I tell you to do without enabling or empowering the people to think, to use their brain and to think logically and to make good decisions. Now, mark you, there hasn't been a viable party to vote for, or a viable system, I would say, to vote for, because the Jamaican constitution is one that really, in my opinion, needs to be revamped all over. And this is where I see where the UIC would Jamaica would benefit from the UIC's implementation of overall in the constitution, which is actually made for Jamaicans or made by Jamaicans for Jamaicans, and that will uplift the Jamaican people, not just one entity, not just the PSOJ or just one entity. It's we're talking country now. We're not talking one person or one person padding his pocket or one entity padding their pocket. We're thinking country all the time. And if this was coming from the top down, I mean, Jamaica would be the envy of the world. People would be running to come to Jamaica, you know? So, I believe that
Absolutely.
it's high time now for us even in the diaspora and the Jamaicans who are in Jamaica to now recognize that over 78 years we have given these two parties an exam, and they have failed the exam year in and year out. So we can't keep going down that road. Furthermore, what has the Jamaican people have to lose in giving the UIC a try? I don't think it can get any worse. So I would urge Jamaicans all in the homeland and in the diaspora to fund the UIC, because it really takes cash to care. Because you can't go forward, you can't implement what you need to implement on a whim. It needs hard cash to do what we need to do. And
You
you
know,
know
you make a great point, Craig. What I'd love, this is what I've seen. I've watched Jamaican politics closely from I was a boy until now. You might have heard the story that my mother was a political activist, a very strong political activist. She had very little education, but she strongly believed in the message of Michael Manley. She was a staunch socialist, as you know, if you will, and she was very committed. So I grew up as a boy watching her being actively engaged in the political process. I observed it closely. To her dismay, by the time I became a teenager, I was not a fan of either of the two parties. Not her party and not the other one. I said to her that, from what I can see, what they have done is created a system where they get us to fight each other instead of fighting the colonial masters, right? But here's what I see today. So I said that to her as a child, that what I'm seeing is that the colonial masters tricked us. I said that by the time I got to about 16, 17, I said, Mom, they tricked us. They have gotten us to take our eyes off them, right? Because we used to focus on them, and we used to say, them colonial masters, them white man, them are enslave we, them are trick we, them are do this to we. And so we were aware. We were aware of where the real problem was. And so we wanted our freedom. And so we were fighting to be free. We can better govern ourselves and ourselves. And so they chose and got us to create two colonial parties that were sanctioned by the colonial masters. They got rid of Marcus Garvey and his People's Political Party. They got rid of him because Marcus Garvey was real. He was about real development of the black man and of the black race and of the nation of Africans. So he was real. So they got rid of him, and they got two white man party to be established in Jamaica and divided us into two tribes. So now we're no longer fighting the colonial masters. We're now fighting each other for what PJ Patterson calls scarce benefits and spoil. So we now became perpetual tribes at war, fighting each other viciously. And we still continue to today to fight each other. Even when we're not fighting for politics, we tear down each other. Just recently, a bunch of people rose up in the UIC, and they didn't build the UIC. They can't build anything. But their focus was on tearing down me. If they thought if they could destroy my character, they could destroy the movement, right? But my character is pretty solid, so they couldn't. They tried very hard. But here's what happened now. No, right now, the Jamaican people are being tricked. Again, the private sector organization of Jamaica, the elites, the oligarchs. Oligarchs are the group of people who actually run a country. They may not even be elected. They're just a group that runs the country. They might be behind the scenes or in the front, but it's a group of them, right? So the elites of the private sector organization of Jamaica. And don't get me wrong, when I talk about the private sector itself is all of us. Every Jamaican who is not a member of the public sector is a member of the private sector, and we are bigger than them. The private sector is bigger than the public sector, okay? But what I'm talking about now is a cartel, a group of people now, a subset of the private sector, which is called the PSOJ, a subset, a club of people, a group of people that they are wealthier than the average Jamaican. They control the industries. They control your access to jobs. They control our government by virtue of donating. So they are donating during election time. They donate up to the maximum of $30 million to each party, each of those two parties. They'll never give that to the UIC, but to each of the two parties, they give $30 million. And you're talking about any number of big boys, right? Any number of the big boys can give $30 million, or big girls can give $30 million to the parties. Outside of the campaign season, they can give much more than $30 million. Okay? So when you see Mark Golding traveling across Jamaica and going to all the communities, he is fully sponsored by two groups: the taxpayers, whose money they get by virtue of them having captured our government and therefore can get taxpayers' money. So they have captured the government and they're getting taxpayers' money. So they're not suffering to come and tell you the message. They're being paid to come and tell you the lies and trickery that they tell you each time. So they have taxpayers' money. They then have a pot of money from the private sector organization of Jamaica, big boys, the cartel, that are giving them this money. They also have external parties now, like the colonial masters, who give grants and special things to them if they carry out their wishes. So, for example, if the prime minister pushes the vax mandate and pushes this and pushes that, then he gets grants and he gets special treatment. He gets welcome to the White House. He gets to go and get a stage with the vice president of the US, and they get to give him a token here, 20 or 30 million dollars here and there, 60 million here, and so on. So they are being fully funded to mislead and misdirect the people of Jamaica. Now let's take the UIC. What do we get? Zero. We have no taxpayers' money coming to us. We have no PSOJ giving us money. We have no banking sector giving us money. We have no outside third party colonial masters organization, call it World Health Organization or UN or UNESCO or anything, call it whatever name you will. We have none of those bringing $30 million each to us. The UIC is ordinary Jamaicans, me and you, who go to work every day and have to make a living, put bread on the table, pay the excessive light bill, pay the water rate, send our kids to school, pay, put gas in the car, pay the insurance. Ordinary people. So when you see me here and you see Craig here, this is on our time, taking time away from our family with no compensation from taxpayers, PSOJ, elite, or external colonial masters organization giving us anything. This is completely voluntary on our time. Fortunately, a number of people are now donating $10, $20 US, $30 US, $50 Canadian, and so on. So the UIC is getting a little bit of money. And as soon as that little bit of money start to grow and our or begin to become a bigger threat to the powers that be, they quickly send people on the inside to come and demolish it. And their focus was to demolish my character, to assassinate my character, so that they could then explode the movement. And in fact, even now, they're trying to launch a lawsuit against me to take the UIC away from me. Even now, as we speak, they're planning that right now. It's coming. Okay? So everywhere I turn, so they put my case to May 2024 to lengthen out the process. I have to go to court every 2 months and twice every month. One in Mandeville, one in Kingston. All of that takes time away from work, time away from family, money out of my pocket. 2.5 hours drive into Kingston, 2.5 hours drive, come back to St. Elizabeth. So they are doing everything possible to destroy this movement. And then guess what? They make sure we're not on TV, we're not on radio, we're not in the newspaper. So the UIC doesn't stand a chance unless we, the people, decide to make it happen. It's people like you, Craig, you and Janice Collins, who helped us start this movement. Me and my wife and Jason Latty and Doreen Charlton and Mario Booth and Diana Hyman and all those who have contributed at different points. And many, of course, got tired along the wayside. Family commitment, personal challenges, health issues, financial problems. Different people drop off by the wayside. And guess what? I have remained steadfast through the ages, 10 years of toil and labor, right down the middle to where we are today. And they know if we can just crush Joseph, it's over. So that's what they're trying to do. If we can just crush him, that's why they locked me up on September 22nd. They locked me up and think they would have broken me. Lock him up, man. Make him go in a jail and see how it stays. Stripping naked, shame and stuff, and see if him not gonna break. I didn't break then. But Craig, they're going to continue and they're going to continue. The only thing that can stop them is if we, the people, decide to stand up. If we, the people, can shake off the mental slavery where they tell us that we shouldn't donate to political parties, shake off the mental slavery, tell us we shouldn't become active, we should be afraid, and we should stand back and wait for a Messiah to come and save us. That's the mental slavery they put in our head. That if we just go to church and sing and pray and say in the sweet by and by, somehow somebody will come and fix it. But guess what? I know that my Creator did not give me a brain to park it in the parking lot. My Creator did not give me hands to put on at my side and don't do anything. My Creator did not give me feet to say I shouldn't walk. So we must walk, we must use our hands, we must use our head, we must do all we can to bring out the best in this space that God has given us and not give it over to the satanic elements that simply want to use even religion to fool us. They tell us that we should not love money while they love it crazily and they hoard it and then use it to control us. Why you think right now they're trying to change to the central bank digital currency? Because they love money. They know that if they can control our money, they can control us. If they can control our money, which is what they want to do, and it's going to happen, it's the UIC that stood between them and injecting the entire nation last year. This one little movement here stopped them by standing up for the people. We stopped them from injecting the entire nation and held them at 20%. Of course, they're still chipping away at it, because even though Andrew Holness lied to us and told us that he was not going to mandate the injection, he mandated it by way of going through the back door, using the employers, just like how he used on the Constitution said, when you appoint a senator, you can't fire him. Okay? When you appoint a senator. So what did he do? Him get them to sign undated resignation letters in advance, which he then puts in his safe. And if any one of them misbehave, don't vote the way he wants them to vote in the Senate, he just pulls it out and then put a date on it and say, you're fired. I have your resignation letter. That's the kind of prime minister we have. He's a dangerous fellow who will do anything to circumvent anything to get his way, and he will destroy this country. He did the same thing with the Chief Justice. When the law says you must appoint a Chief Justice outright, and when you appoint the Chief Justice, you can't then manipulate them fully. You'd have to find some other way. His way was to make the Chief Justice temporary. So give him a temp job. So if him don't behave himself and apply the law the way he want, he can just pull it back and the Chief Justice is gone. And so he gets his way. So even things we don't know yet. For example, you see the DPP is doing many things which suggest that she's being manipulated by the Prime Minister, right? So we have a Prime Minister who is very manipulative, very tricky. He's good at politics, but not interested or good at fixing the country. He cannot fix the economy. He cannot fix crime. He cannot fix our school system. He cannot fix our healthcare system. But one thing he will do, he will trick you, he will trick you, he will trick you, and he's very good at tricking people. And that's why, even though he only got 21% in the last election, he ends up with 45 of the 63 seats in the House of Parliament, because he doesn't care how he gets there, as long as he gets control of our government, control of our taxes, and control of our lives. That's all that matters for him. And he will sell us out completely to anybody, the highest bidder, because at the end of the day, it's all about him, and he's going to get richer and richer and richer, while the Jamaican people, I tell you something, watch carefully. The longer we hire these two parties, the longer we allow them, by either not voting, which is 63% of us who didn't vote, by either not voting or voting for one of the two of those, the longer we do that, watch what happens. The longer we vote for them over the 78 years, Jamaica declines. Look at it carefully. The longer we have them, banana goes, coffee goes, sugar goes, everything that they touch, Air Jamaica goes, our airport goes, or our lovely land in the cockpit country is going, and other areas of Jamaica has been fully extracted and exploited, left with the people being sick, the ecology being destroyed, and Jamaica being depreciated, while the country at large is declining more and more and more. The longer we vote PNP and GLP is the more Jamaica will decline. Look at our dollar. Every year, the dollar gets weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker and worth less. They told us earlier this year and into late last year, while we had the so-called crisis going on, they were busy independent. What does that mean? Independent. They made the Bank of Jamaica no longer owned by the people of Jamaica, no longer under the full jurisdiction of the government of Jamaica, but given over to a private banking cartel, together with $20.6 billion of your and my hard money that they extract by way of taxes. They gave it to the private banking cartel, $20.6 billion, and gave away the bank. So the Bank of Jamaica is no longer the Bank of Jamaica. It's only the Bank of Jamaica in name. It is the bank from private banking cartel, which is a part now of the International Monetary Fraudulent Fund Scheme, because it's a fraudulent banking system. which is used to steal your wealth by stealth, devaluation of our currency, and inflation to rob us of our hard-earned money. And that's what these two parties sat down while we were being distracted by this so-called pandemic. They sat down and wrote laws, not even right. They don't write it. The laws we have in Jamaica are laws given by our colonial masters. And then we just simply play around in parliament, have a few nice speeches and talk and claiming we're debating, and then pass these laws dictated by our colonial masters. We pass these laws dictated by our colonial masters, put them in place, and fool up the Jamaican people about we're passing laws. That is why our banking system is so difficult for the average Jamaican and so easy for the rich and powerful. That is why many Jamaicans can't have access to capital and loan to build their small business, but all the big companies have it. That is why during the pandemic, the big companies were protected. The cruise ships could come and enjoy our country, but the small man was locked down and locked out of his economy while the government participated in global and defraud the small average working class citizens of their wealth and leave us now in this pitiful inflation environment. It's less and less and less as they push us towards a universal basic income to make us all dependents on the government. And while big business will continue,
I'm not able to hear you, Joseph. Seems like you've dropped off the stream. Not sure what's happening. I can't hear you. I'm not sure if you can hear me, but I can't hear you. Yeah, and the retailer is saying we're not hearing. Not sure what's happening. If you want to restart the stream, Joseph, because I can't hear, and there's other people within the stream saying that they can't hear. Is anyone hearing me? Oh, okay. Somebody said that they're hearing me. Okay. Is anyone hearing Joseph? Not seeing Mr. Pattison. Okay. All right. All right. We're just waiting on Joseph to come back live. You know, but as he was reiterating regarding the what the GLP and the PNP is interested in, they are only interested in the corruption and their own pockets. They're not concerned about the country as a whole.
look like I'm back now, eh?
Yes, you are. Yes, you
Hear
are.
me?
Yes.
Wow. Uh,
Hear you
we,
clearly
we
now.
we always we always have these amazing interruptions, in our
Uh-huh.
productions. But nonetheless, I'm here. I don't know how much of what I was saying you heard.
Yeah.
Um, but you take over. What are your thoughts? Anything you want to share?
Well, I was saying earlier when you dropped off that the I don't think the prime minister is interested in the country as a whole. He's not interested in the Jamaican people, because if you are in the public sector and your job is to lead people, this job should be like a nurse or a doctor, where you're into this profession for the love of people and not for the love of power. Because, you know, he who sits at the top has to be able to serve, be a servant first, right? So as you said, he came
Yes.
right out of university and jumped right into politics. It seems as if there was no love for the Jamaican people. It was just love for the power and what the power can bring him and maybe his family and those around him. And the GLP was just it was like a foundation or a playground to just bolster his agendas. It's very sad that there is little to no regard for the Jamaican people. Now, if he's now going to change or take some of the ideas from the UIC and implement them, I would suggest that don't take some of them and implement some of them, or implement some halfway, or just kind of cut and paste or patch a certain era. Take the entire plan, because now we're focused on people and not power. So if you're focused on the people and not power, then um, change the change that Jamaica need, the Jamaicans far and near will see that change. So I personally don't believe that they are interested. Neither the GLP nor the PNP is really interested in such a change. So this is a real mammoth task that the UIC has to climb. And I personally would urge all Jamaicans, both abroad and in the homeland, to help the UIC bring about change that this country so desperately needs. Because it's a beautiful country. It's a very beautiful country, and a lot of people want to
Yeah.
come home. A lot of people want to come home, but
Yeah.
they want to come home to a clean, orderly society.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, from what I've observed, over my lifetime, um, as a Jamaican, it seems very clear to me that the two parties, they take Jamaica for a game. It's a game that they're playing.
Mm,
Every election cycle, they come up with some gimmick, whether they're offering water or free electricity, or some kind of gimmick that they offer to the Jamaican people. Then they see how long how long it will last. Can they get away with one term? Can they get away with a second term? And then they start the game over again. The next person who wins this time, who gets to hold the seat, this time. And it's really just a game. And in this game, they don't seem to realize that it's real lives that we're talking about here. I'll give you an example. You look at our school system. How can you live with yourself as a political leader of this country, where 70% or more of the high school graduates every year are totally incompetent and unprepared for the society into which they've been unleashed? How can you, how can these guys, I mean, they've owned our country for so long. How can they be? I went to Porus High School last week. Thursday invited me as a guest speaker to talk about the dreams of the students and motivate them and so on. I look in the eyes of those children. I went early in the mornings around and visited many of the institutions, cosmetology to IT to um, one old rusty little machine that is from 30 years ago. You go to the IT department, the computers are 15 years old, the softwares are 10 years old, nothing current or modern there for the student from. Um, it's a beautiful school. I think the teachers are doing an amazing job with the limited resources to pass, but to fail. The students are being prepared to fail in the game of life. They don't understand the world into which they're artificial intelligence. The average child stays up every night playing a game called Firefly or something like that. They stay up so late playing this game because they have very little by way of parental guidance. Remember, the parents, that they have.
Seems as if you have dropped again, Joseph. Can anyone hear me? Seems as if Mr. Pattison has dropped again. Okay, he's coming back.
It keeps chipping out.
Yeah.
Because of their poor parents, which are a result of a poor education system and a poor economy. Many of them come to school. I see one boy eating a cookie for breakfast in the morning. That was his breakfast, a small bag of cookie. That's what he's having for breakfast in the morning. Okay? To then go to class to learn. I look at these students and you can see that they're on the path to failure. And there's very little that the teachers can do because the class size is overcrowded, right? They have 30, 35 students per class, limited resources. In the art and craft class, many of the kids could not bring basic things to school to participate in the craft activity because they just don't have it at home to bring to school. Things that are in the syllabus for them to bring. So this is the Jamaica that the PNP and JLP has spent 78 years building. And don't tell me that they had to, because other countries with less resources than us have done better. So it's not like everybody in the world is doing as poorly. We have countries which started out with less than Jamaica that have done better than Jamaica. And they continue to develop a nation of failures. The vast majority of our people don't have the basic skills to compete in the modern economy. We can't export on par. We can't analyze on par. We can't design on par. We can't create on par because we have a government which is cutting out the rung from under our feet. They're pulling the rugs from under our feet. Our small business sector cannot grow fast enough because the government regulation and taxes are always there to oppress and suppress them. We have a system which is designed to protect big business from small business. We have a system. My wife, she went to oh my gosh, man. She went to the post office to post a product to a client. Okay? And she went to the post office. The post office had to give her the form that she needs to fill out to leave the post office and go and get it photocopied somewhere because they don't have they don't have any ink in the photocopy machine.
Wow.
And when she comes back,
wow.
And when she comes back, they want her to go ahead again and do another piece. So a task that should have taken 15 minutes to process took her 3 hours in a near empty post office. 3 hours. This is the kind of Jamaica that the PNP and the JLP has designed for us. A very inefficient, ineffective, low productivity country. That's what they have been sitting on top of. And then they come out and make these fancy announcements. Right now, the Prime Minister is making an announcement a minute because election is coming near. He lied to us and told us in 2016 that within his first 100 days, he was going to bring in fixed election date. Fixed election date. Where's that today? After more than 6 years in office, what he promised to do within 100 days has still not been done after 6 years. We don't have fixed election date. Where is the fixed election date, Andrew? Where is the fixed election date that you said we needed to have because politicians play with the electoral system, and you, when you were in opposition, said you were going to fix that, and you have not fixed it to date? You have done many things, but you have not done the things that would improve the quality of life and the quality of governance in Jamaica. That's why crime is so high. That's why inflation. Look at inflation. Jamaica, he's going to tell us, and he has told us, that the reason we have high prices in Jamaica right now is because of the global situation, global high prices and gasoline high prices and all of that. So he's blaming it on the global environment. And most of us can see with that because it seems to make sense. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, there's a global inflation there, global problem. Yeah. But why does Jamaica have to make sure that it is tied to a system that's going to so destroy the purchasing power of Jamaicans? Why wasn't the Prime Minister wise enough to listen to me when I said we need to decouple Jamaica from the fraudulent monetary system so that we're not similarly impacted by what is happening? No. I said that in 2018. I said that in 2016. I said it again in 2019. I said it in 2017. I said it again in 2020. We need to decouple from that system. How do we do that? First of all, why have we destroyed our farming sector so we can't feed ourselves? If you can't feed yourself, then you're going to be impacted by global oil prices. Yeah, because you're importing food from everywhere else. Why have we not diversified our energy mix by removing the monopoly status of JPS and allowing more energy producers, including local homes like myself? Right now, there's no light in my area, no electricity in my area, none at all. They told us from 2 days ago that there's going to be a blackout. There's none. You notice I have electricity. Nobody else in my community have it. I could sell energy back to the grid, but to do that, it's very complicated and painful because they don't want ordinary citizens producing electricity and selling it back to the grid. If the government, both PNP and JLP, meant Jamaica any good, we would have had a large alternative energy supply grid in Jamaica right now. You'd have had thousands of Jamaicans like myself who would have had our rooftops covered, and we will be supplying our own electricity and selling the excess to the grid and bringing down the costs to manufacturers, especially small-scale manufacturers. We would have had geothermal energy implemented because we would have been able to import the technology and implemented it without government regulations that prevent us from doing it. So geothermal would be here, lots of it, because we have the right environment for geothermal energy. Solar would be bigger. Hydro would be bigger. Biogas would be powerful. We've been producing our own biogas and methane for our cooking gas, and therefore also local farmers could use that to run their generators and all kind of stuff. So we have the capacity, but they have robbed us of the ability to become energy independent. They have robbed us of the ability to become food, because they control our food sector. They have controlled they've regulated all of the farming sectors and killed the farmers of Jamaica by bringing in cheap imports to decimate our farmers, make them dependent on GMO seeds and dependent on imported fertilizer that kills the soil, as opposed to supporting and encouraging and cultivating organic farming, organic production of fertilizer, organic ways of water harvesting, using permaculture technology that is free and available here in Jamaica. They have not pushed it, just as they did not push Jamaican solutions to the pandemic, but pushed a foreign solution because they always want us to be dependent on their colonial masters. That's why more than 1,300 persons died in this country, because they did not get early treatment. They did not get local remedies that could have solved the problem immediately. And people could have been using steaming from day one to kill the virus in their nostrils and in their throats. They could have been using ginger. They could have been using all the Jamaican herbs and stuff in the ways that our grandmother and great grandmother knew how to do. We could have applied those things here in Jamaica and saved hundreds of lives and be an example to the rest of the world. But no, our so-called leaders, misleaders, led the Jamaican people to be focused on and dependent on a foreign solution instead of building local solution. So they destroyed our farmers. They have destroyed our teachers. We used to have great teachers that were really committed to raising our children, helping our families to grow. They have used all kind of foreign methodologies and ideas to dumb down our teachers, take away discipline out of our schools, destroyed our schools. Now our kids are stabbing up each other and cussing teachers, and parents are coming to beat security guards in our country. That's the Jamaica that they're creating. They've destroyed our hospitals. People are all over the place suffering and dying on corridors and not having anything, because they have taken away our awareness of how we can heal ourselves using our herbs. They have pushed the Jamaican people to become foreign-minded and foreign-dependent and not able to be an independent, productive, and resourceful people, which we are by nature.
Yeah. So true.
We are entrepreneurs by nature. We're able to survive. But they have been systematically wiping clean from our minds our ancestral knowledge that we could have been using to build a healthy and productive nation that's built on values that we cherish, as opposed to the values of our colonial masters that they cherish. Because they cherish them, which is why they dropped the DRMA to welcome those white people to our country. Yeah? They dropped the DRMA so that they could come and have a nice free going around without their mask and whatever, while we were supposed to suffer because we don't deserve better. We must get rid of these two parties. We must not allow them one more day in our government. We must take back our country and build a new and better Jamaica that is built by Jamaicans for Jamaicans to realize the aspirations of all Jamaicans.
So true. So true. So true, Mr. Patterson. So true. I I firmly believe that as I said before, they're not interested in Jamaican capital. They're really not interested in that, because if they were, we wouldn't have 77 years of what we now have currently. So it's now time to move into a different direction. And I can see a lot of people online saying that it's the UIC's time now, and they're ready for a new change. I firmly believe that if we say we want to see the UIC, if we say we want to see the UIC in power, we have to now help the UIC in any way possible, whether it's monetary or your time. We have to help the UIC to see this new change that we want to see, because Mark, we are not able to get money from big businesses, because and even if we take money from them, they're going to want something in return, which is status quo, and we don't want that. So my personal views is to see the UIC come to fruition, because I believe the Jamaican people as a whole will be better for it. And I mean, when I think about even the very mere fact that we are importing food, like Jamaica should never ever, where I am on this earth right now, I mean, we have very limited time to cultivate food from the ground. 2 months. And you know, and we cherish it so much. Do this right around the year. So if the GLP or the PNP or whoever is in power was really interested in even feeding ourselves, becoming independent where that is concerned, we have the weather and we have the people to do it. I believe that we could be the envy of the world where this is concerned. But the GLP and the PNP is clearly not interested in the
Craig,
country of Jamaica, in the people.
we have everything we need to be water, food,
Yeah.
and energy secure.
Yeah.
Now, a
Surrounded by
country
water.
which, listen, a country, any country which can feed itself, any country that can feed itself is an independent country.
Mm.
Any country that can harvest water. I am one man here in Jamaica, one man. I live on a farm. Um, uh, Back in 2011, we bought 36 acres of land. So I didn't inherit anything. Everything that I have, I've worked for. I didn't get any bly. There's no bly. Some people who have been in politics for like 25 years, it's a whole heap of bly you get, right? Because, for example, if if when I am sure that the prime minister and the opposition leader, they don't go and stand up in lines and suffer like the rest of us, right? They get special blight. They don't, like, if they want a bank account open at the bank, them just make one phone call, papers done, signature, bank open. That's the kind of royal treatment that the politicians in Jamaica have. Those from the two major parties, they live the big life. They get a bly. The rest of us have to work hard or become corrupt and worship them and be a part of their corrupt schemes in order for us to get a bly too. You understand?
Yeah.
People like me, people like me and the other, we're not getting a bly. So I work my butt off in Canada in the coal. I remember sometime, Craig, when I used to work at the restaurant in my early days when I couldn't get any work and I was working at the restaurant. I remember one Sunday morning when I got to work because, Jesus, man, one Sunday morning I'm going to work, Craig, up at Bayview, and I'm walking from, no bus runs from, I forgot what the cross street is that you have to walk up now to get to Bayview, and it's a good walk, Craig. So no, because of how early I have to get to work, no bus to run up. You just have the main bus on the main road, but to get up to the top, no bus. So I have to come out of the bus, Craig, and when I step off of the bus and step down, the snow is to my knee. You understand? To my knee.
Welcome.
And I'm walking through knee-deep snow, and I have my hoodie up, and my nose start run water, and it turn icicle. You understand? Icicle. And little eye water start come because you're wondering where you do. What is this you're doing? You understand? You leave Jamaica. I left Jamaica as an engineer. I was working at Money Musk as an engineer, assistant manager for instrumentation. All right. Where in the morning I get up, I'm gonna play a ball with my friend down in the area because I lived in the Great House. Play a ball and then go over to the club, jump in the swimming pool, get a swim, and then go up and a chauffeur come and pick me up and take me down to the cafeteria and we get my breakfast, and then I go to my office and went out and check all the instruments and check on the guys, and by 2:30 I finish and we're gonna play volleyball and go back and get a shower and just chill out. That was life in Jamaica. Okay, as an engineer, assistant manager for instrumentation. Then I went to Canada, and Canada says, you are not up to scratch for this level here. And guess what? And you're overqualified for this level here. So 6 months of unemployment. Okay, and without pay. It's not unemployment with pay. I mean unemployed. Period. So I took a job and worked at the place because a friend of yours or somebody worked there too. So I was working at this restaurant, an upscale restaurant, and Craig, you're walking in the snow, your fingers start to. It's like your fingers want to drop off the way, even though you're wearing the gloves, And when you get in, your toes, you can't feel your toes anymore when you get inside here. So that's where I come from. And I work my way up. I studied part-time, get my degree in accounting, get my CGA designation, and get my CPA designation, and work my way up through all of that, and come back to my country and buy my land myself. And me, one man, I have enough water because I build my own water catch facility below ground and above ground. One man, I install my solar system. So when Jamaica's electricity is gone and done, I have electricity. When Water Commission turn off the water because of the massive waste, because they can't manage the system properly, and so from time to time they turn off, okay, I still have water, right? So one man worked out how to make sure that his basic environment is okay. And these two parties have had 78 years to figure out how to give Jamaica a good water catchment system with proper connectivity to ensure adequate flows in different communities and to ensure our farmers had water. They can't get that done in 78 years. To make sure that Jamaica is not dependent on a monopoly, foreign-owned company to provide energy. They could not have taken 78 years to figure out how to make Jamaica energy independent. They couldn't take 78 years to figure out how to make sure that Jamaica's communities are safe. You can actually sleep without. You know how much money we spend on grill in this country, Craig? The amount of waste. The amount of waste. We have wasted millions and millions buying steel to put up grill, to lock ourselves into our house, to put burglar bars. We are living like criminals, locked up behind bars. It's a fire hazard. It's a dangerous thing to have your windows and doors barred up and you have to lock up yourself at night time. And they have taken 78 years, 78 years, and still can't figure out how to create a safe environment in Jamaica. 78 years, and the place is dirty. You travel around the country, garbage all over the place. If you step out of I have lived here in this neighborhood now. I've lived here for now 11 years. And I've had only 4 garbage pickups in 11 years.
Are you serious?
4 garbage pickups in 11 years.
So what do you do with the garbage?
I have to dispose of it myself. Some people dispose of their garbage on my property.
So what do? You compost, or like, how do you get rid
Well, I
of the garbage?
compost what I can. You know me, right? You know, I'm very, very creative. So we make sure we separate, our plastics and our cans and our biodegradable. So all of our biodegradable are composted and turned into soil and then fed back into the system. And what we then we dispose of what we can by carrying it to somewhere else and get them to dispose of it, or we burn what we have to burn, which is against the law, by the way. They say you can't burn, but they're not going to take up the garbage. You can't burn, but they won't take the garbage up. So we have had to struggle. And if you come along our property line, people just come and throw bags of diapers. It's piling up at their house, diapers. So they come and throw it on my property, some people. Yeah. So this is the kind of country, Craig, that I'm talking about. Why after 78 years, we can't even pick up garbage? We can't manage our waste in this country. After 78 years, something is wrong.
Wow.
Something is totally wrong. Yeah. We have to come and fix this. We have to take our crew. And listen, don't tell me, my people, don't be fooled by this. Don't let them come and tell you about a different leader. It doesn't matter if it's Damian Crawford or Lisa Anna, or if it's Audley Shaw or Chris Tufton. It doesn't matter who you put as leader of these two parties. They are set in their ways. They know an organism, the DNA that is fixed. And that DNA says we are going to rape Jamaica, trick Jamaica, and rape Jamaica again. That's the DNA that they have now. It has been perfected. Don't think by making Lisa Anna leader over Mark Golden, you're suddenly going to have a different PNP. If Michael Manley couldn't do it, none of them can do it. I can tell you that. If Michael Manley could not make the PNP do for Jamaica what should be done for Jamaica, there's nobody after him that can do it. And this one you have now, Andrew Holness is the youngest prime minister we have ever had. He's the first one born after 1962 when we got independence, and he was supposed to be the youthful change for Jamaica, and he is a massive disaster. In fact, history will show that he's the worst prime minister we have ever had. I did not know that we could have anybody worse than PJ Patterson. I didn't think we could have had anybody worse than that. If you knew what PJ Patterson and Omar Davis did to this country in the 1990s with the high interest rate policy, with the trick from moving from the IMF to taking us into more expensive loans and then killing our small businesses in order to get more money for the government to spend freely, they destroyed this economy in ways that you would never imagine. Okay, and I don't take up for none of these two parties. So don't think I'm not here. I'm not going to be an apologist for PNP or GLP. I have seen the horror. I have seen the destruction of both of these parties on Jamaica. So I will not take up for any. And I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that Andrew Holness is singularly, the absolute worst prime minister this country has ever had. And prior to him, it would have been PJ Patterson, my namesake. What PJ Patterson did to this country in the 1990s under Omar Davis was atrocious. And if you ever understood it, you would want to see his name stricken from everything on records if you knew what those two men did to our country with the high interest rate policies of the 1990s. That was a massive transfer of wealth from poor people to rich people under PJ Patterson and Omar Davis. The other ones, they did all kind of foolishness. Portia Simpson Miller wasn't even there. She was there, but she wasn't there. I mean, it was all Phillips while she was there. She was a true figurehead. She was a true figurehead. Phillips was the one running the show, and he was so happy to do what the colonial masters wanted. He couldn't care less. All he wanted to do was to pass IMF tests to say, yes, master, I have done what you have said. And don't let me talk about Edward Seaga with carrying out the will of the CIA and the US government to the detriment of 800,000 lives in Jamaica. And don't let me talk about what Bruce Golden did, tell us all those nice things. And then he was very much doing the very same things that he told us when he formed the NDM that he wasn't going to do. The very same things he was doing. Okay? So, and I can talk about Bustamante and I can talk about Norman, but here's the bottom line. Here's the bottom line. The time has come for us to turn over a new page in Jamaica. Do not let this 60th anniversary of so-called independence find us still dependent on these two parties. We must cut the umbilical cord. We must sever ties. We must put them in the annals of history, and never again should they have control of our government, control of our education system, control of our healthcare system, control of our economy. It's time for us to sever all ties with the PNP and GLP, and let's create for the first time in the history of the world, modern history, a non-partisan constitutional republic of Jamaica where the country defends the sovereignty of every citizen by making us all equal under the law, no exception. Nobody gets any favoritism, whether you're a prime minister or you're a pastor or you're a pauper. It does not matter. We must create a Jamaica of equal opportunity, equal rights, and equal justice. We must create a Jamaica that is safe, clean, and orderly. We must create a Jamaica where everyone, every single Jamaican can live, earn, and retire with dignity in their own country and don't have to run off to no foreign to make it. We must make it available here for a child to be born here, live here, never leave here, and be prosperous. They only leave here for vacation. They must be able to be prosperous right here.
Exactly.
And the only way we're going to do that is if we get rid of the system of governance that these two parties have been using to oppress and suppress the Jamaican people year after year after year after year. 78 years is enough.
It really is. Yeah, it really is.
It is enough.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, Craig,
I
you have
yeah,
the last word. We
I,
wrap
I
up
couldn't
tonight.
have I couldn't have said it any better, sir. I won't. The last few words I really want to echo is it's time for a change. And even
Yes,
when the UIC get elected, the UIC as what you know it now won't even be anymore, because now it would be
exactly. Exactly.
everybody now will have to stand up. Every elected official will have to stand up on their own 2 feet and serve the people. Serve the people, because it's
Absolutely.
about the
We're going
people,
to have,
not the power.
yeah, exactly. We're going to have a United Independence Congress. We didn't choose that name. You remember, Craig, when we were talking about it back in
Mhm,
2013, and we chose the
mhm.
name United Independence Congress. It's because we wanted a united Jamaica
Yes,
run by independenters, not a
exactly.
parliament divided by party, but a Congress
Mhm,
united in one purpose to bring out the best
mhm,
in all our people. The vision of the UIC says a Jamaica that brings out the best in all its people. That's the vision.
mhm.
And our mission
Yes,
is to create a united independence Congress of Jamaica where everybody's life, liberty, and property rights are fully protected equally
yes,
so that we can have a safe, clean, and orderly society where everyone can live and retire with dignity. I long for
dignity.
that day. I'm fighting for that day.
Mhm,
And I invite all of you, my fellow Jamaicans, to join hands. You see the hands in our logo? Join
mhm,
hands. Let us come together. Forget about the PNP and jail divide. Let's become a one here until we talk again.
All
Bye.
right. Take care.